All right, so I just wanted to catch us up on exactly what's going to happen next. And by exactly, I mean what I think might happen next. Sometimes it's a little flexible. What have we done? We've absolutely caught up the eyebrows themselves. Okay, so they're looking a little bit more fresh. I still have to do this left one, but the right one we've just finished. Since I've pretty much hard cut from the last video. So now, how the heck are we going to get into these eyes? Well, it's very hard to see, but they are there. There's the original line work is going to be a guide. Now, if we've been, and we've tried our best, if we've been on task and have allowed this to develop in an even way, I should be able to trust that line work. And so even though it is very faint, I can still come back in and redraw it on. And so that's the first thing I'm going to do. Now, if I decide I want those eyes to move, because that's okay. Like, you can literally do whatever you want. It's your freaking sculpture. So if I feel like the eyes need to be bigger or lower, you know, we have those options. It's not set in stone. So remember that even in the original tracing, it's still fluid. The design can still change. But, you know, all in all, I'm pretty happy with how everything's developed, and we really get to actually get into the face detail now. The face itself, we're going to focus on the eyes first, because everything is going to come back to them. We're going to push this high brow spot, you know, above the tear duct. We're going to push this area much deeper, and we're going to allow that to shape the rest of the nose. Okay, because once this area here is deeper, then we can come around the side of the nose, we can come around the side of the nostril, and it really helps us develop the final depth. So I expect this to actually be pretty easy, because we've annealed, like, this metal is still soft. I haven't touched it since the last anneal. We've only really worked the beard. So really, we're looking at end game stuff here. These are like final choices that we get to do. And before I get too far into the weeds, working on those beard rings, I just, you know, I wanted to overview before we get right down into it. Yeah, let's do it. That's pretty much it. I'm just going to push a few things deeper, reline the eyes, and then, hey, if you haven't before, like, go check out some of the drawing videos that I've done on Patreon. Honestly, they're not the best illustrations I've ever made, but I literally break it down a single piece at a time on, like, you know, which part of the eye to develop first. I also have an awesome worksheet. Please download it, look at it, because I have it drawn quite clearly, the order of operations, and I'm going to reference this thing quite a bit. So if you haven't taken a stab at it, you know, download it. You know, at least look at the pictures. I mean, that's all I ever do. I did write it out as clearly as I could, without actually including chisel sizes, because, you know, why would I? Your project might be bigger than mine or smaller than mine. So, you know, the chisels are a little less important in scale, so much as kind of the order that the eye develops. So check that out. And let's dig into this, eh? Okay, you can barely see it, but it's totally there, I promise. It's I got those retraced in lines. That probably helps them be a lot more visible. Okay, so all I did, I avoided the tear ducts altogether. It's a mistake. It's a mistake to put in too early. The reason being is it just gets in the way. You're going to have to push that whole spot deeper. You're just going to crush your lines again anyhow. So there's really no point until you're absolutely ready. I'm just adding some light real quick. Okay, so I'm just tired of beating around the bush here, so we're just going to jump right in. I didn't retrace on the top lines. I can't. I don't have enough room. So I'm going to jump in with the embossers and just start making some space. Right above the eye, I'm going to use a liner. The liner is very dull. Okay, so I'm just going to come right in and just start to push that the whole area. Really committing. There's no one doing that. So all I can do is make it match. You know, it's like we prepare and we prepare and we prepare and we prepare, and eventually I get sick of hesitating and making sure I've done it right, and I just need to take the plunge. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I can work with that. Now the line work from this tracer, from this straight liner, is quite deep. So our next job is to clean up one side of it, and I'm just going to jump in with a very small oval planisher. We'll just clean that bottom half up and just make it go away. Just like that. I'm being careful not to push the center of the eyes any deeper. I'm just flattening out that line so it doesn't like sneak up on us. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna jump in with a bigger one. Again, smoothing. Trying not to lose my height in the middle there. Pushing toward the center. And then lightening it up as I smooth out the center of the eye. I'm doing them both at the same time. Don't want to get ahead of myself here. Not bad. Okay, I'm just double checking my work here, looking at it from top down ensures at least a little bit of quality control to make sure that it's not uneven. I'm just going to touch it where it might be deeper in one spot than the other. You know, eventually you're going to be like, you know what, faces move around a little, that's okay. There we go. And again, with that 5-ounce hammer, I'm going to just jump right in. Okay, I'm going to try and jump in to what could be the supporting role for like the bags under the eyes, okay? Just know that they're like sort of related, and that's why I'm pushing this area deeper. There. It's mostly so I can get up right into there. Make sure you're looking right down the barrel of the gun there. You need to be able to see how even you're making it as you go. I'm going to leave this nose quite broad, but at least that area has a nice deepness to it to complement some of the other shapes. Okay, and I'm just trying to be smart and develop some of this together as I go here. I'm going to jump on the outsides of the mouth and just try and planish this line into it. Making sure it's related, sort of. On the other side. Not going too deep, just Okay. And that embosser right on the peripheral. Oh, hesitation, hesitation. I'm gonna change my mind. Where's that big old... This is a large oval planisher. And I'm gonna kind of jump underneath the eye a little bit. And I'm gonna try and get this to join up. So kind of knocking down the peripheral. Just a little bit more. It's going to make the eye easier to develop. Let's do the other side here. Make sure I'm doing it sort of even. And that annealed metal, it's not afraid to move around a little. Very nice, very nice. Deepening and rounding out the eyebrows. Again, by developing the surrounding area, I can really make the hard choices of the eye much easier on myself. Okay. I just check my work. Pretty even. I'm just going to jump in to the side here. This is just a little chattery. A little texture is good. A lot of texture is distracting. So just smooth it out a little bit. There we are. There we are. All right. Okay. So right off the bat, it's not going to be visible from where the camera is, but my right eye is just a little larger than my left eye. So I'm going to jump in. I think that was all I needed to do. Groovy. Okay. And yep. Okay. I don't normally make them upside down like this. It was just kind of a convenient spot for the camera. All right, let me recenter and just check my work here. Okay, so we are going to put in a nice hard traced line. All right, eyes. Upper lid first. We've sort of set it up already. Because the brows are so heavy on this one, the actual line work for the top, for the upper lid, isn't going to be crazy. I'm just going to make sure it curves out of there. Okay, so starting just above it, right in that crease. This is a curved liner. I'm just making it pop out right there. And I'm just going to grab my calipers and make sure my eyes are exactly the same size. There we are. Yes, good. Yes, good. Okay. If you'll remember from our drawing videos, the face mapping ratio to make the face look proportionate to itself is you are going to take that eye distance and from the tear duct to the outside of the eye, okay, you should be able to go 3 times. So it's 1 eye, 2 eye, 3 eye, and that's a good size for making them evenly spaced from one another. This is not a human, so we can actually change that a little bit. But I'm just going to kind of use the bridge of the nose as a nice rule of thumb here, and use the bridge of the nose to kind of make sure my eyes are at least sized appropriately, because I can make them a little larger, but not by much. Yeah, okay, that looks good to me. And the first thing I want to do is drop that outside of the eye. So everything we're doing on the inside of the eye here, sorry that took so long, just having trouble finding my own chickens here. Everything we're doing on the eye is protecting the roundedness. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm actually just making sure it's corners. The outside of the eye is nice and low as we start building the roundedness itself. And I'll do the other side. Now because we have such deep brows and the upper eyelid is actually hidden just a bit by that brow line, some of our job's already done for us. Normally, you'd have to do that establishing line. Well, I mean, we did already do it, but we just did it for the whole brow. But normally you do that establishing line, what I'm doing now, for that whole upper lid. But what we're doing is just by taking that corner a little deeper, leaning into that back edge, right on that corner of the eye, that peripheral. We're just going to try and make that a little rounder each time. Let me check our work. Yeah, this left eye is a little bigger. So what I want to do is actually just push my line work out of the way a little bit. So this is actually not the end of the world. Easy correction. We're just going to jump in. And after I know my line fits, I'm just kind of angling it and pushing it down. Alright, and let's look. Not bad. Okay. And then we planish that bottom line. Very important to make sure that your work is even before getting too advanced in the design. I actually need to size up. Let's grab one larger Planisher size. It's going to be easier for me to control. And now we still need to make this right eye just a little bit more on the open side, so I'm just going to push this line down a little more. Now I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm not going to push the metal. But that way it has the same aesthetic. I've done the same thing to both sides. Okay, check it's even. Not terrible. Left eye actually needs to be pushed down all together. Scale up. Push the whole thing down. Always rounding it toward the center. It probably doesn't look like I'm doing much. With each pass, what's happening is the outside of the eye is actually being pushed down. Alright, now at this point I'm going to start pushing down the other side. I don't normally wait that long. Do both sides, but I just wanted to get a feel for how this is going to work. Okay. Just making sure. Now, after you have the eyes sort of established, it'll be important to make sure you push back the lower lid. Okay, how I want to do that is with a Planisher. Gonna jump right on, remember that line we did in the beginning, so just underneath it, I'm just going to make sure that this is pushed down and rounded out. Because from that line then I can planish the rest of this peripheral. Yeah, okay, nice. Actually, I think I could do okay by making the eyes just a little bigger on both sides. And now I'm going to start to just whack in a little extra space for the tear ducts. It's okay if this has a little bit of a corner to it. You're not going far. Because the tear ducts on this guy is adding to the overall width of the design, and we need it. Okay, so at this point, if you need to change your eye's size, you can reline. You can retrace, and that's going to push that wall. Since you've already sort of planished the edge, actually I need a flatter liner, so I'll just do both sides to a point and then trade. But yeah, because you've already set up the angle of that line changing, at this point when you push on it, it'll want to settle just a little bit lower. So you're not going to be moving mountains with this technique. You know, it's not a mover and shaker. It's a very minute adjustment. And then I flipped the chisel, okay? So from one curve, I flipped it. Now I'm doing the other side to incorporate the tear duct in that S curve. So we've got pretty much all the information of that in there. So now I can just follow this curve. You can do this with a planisher too. You don't have to do it with a liner. You can actually push in the line for the roundedness of the eye. This makes the eyeball a different layer than the tear duct. I'm just going to make sure I'm getting a decent approximation on both sides, making sure I'm not making one eye grossly larger than the other. Okay, and now we jump in there and planish the hell out of it. Let me add some ink so that there's like a little bit of contrast. I might have to get in there with a little acetone and actually, or alcohol, and just clean that up. Because that's very stark, very high contrast. Oh no, oh no. All right. We're going to cut there. I'm going to check my footage, and I'm going to planish the hell out of it. I did a step, and I was realizing I got a little ahead of myself. I really wanted you to see this. So the planishing from the eyebrow, that line, if you were wondering why the heck was that even there, this is why. Because as we planish that smooth, it creates room to push down. It creates room to planish down right here. Okay, and what that does is it gives us room to planish that upper lid. Okay, and let it flow all the way to the peripheral. Obviously, you don't want to make the hard line, past a certain point, because it's not like the eyelashes or the eyelid itself wraps around the head. But that line is critical for this this next step. Jumping in and just reestablishing the upper eye. Okay, and now we're going to break the line just a little, come out of it. Okay, good. And now we planish the lower lid down. This is all okay at this point because what I've done is I've done a fair amount of planishing on the eyeball itself. Granted, there's still some like heavy lines on what is going to be the center eye. We'll clean it out, but we're just establishing some of this first. Okay, looking good. Now is actually a really easy time to establish the tear ducts even better. So with, this is a smaller embosser actually that we're using to do some like real shaking and moving. And I'm just going to create kind of like a lap around the tear duct itself. And I'm going to kind of stop. And I'm just going to planish it down a little bit. It's easy to underestimate how round the human eye actually is. Even though this isn't human, a lot of the same rules will still apply. And with that embosser again now, I'm just going to push down on the outside of the eye. Planisher isn't actually fitting as well as I would have liked. So I'm just going to size down. I'm just going to follow out of that curve. I'm going to wrap it. And now the farther away from the tear duct you go, the larger, like the fatter this soft tissue can get. If you were going to favor a heavier feeling spot than anywhere else, I would favor the center, leaning toward the back half. Now, as I get closer to that intersection, you can see how I'm like favoring the back corner. I'm lifting the metal and establishing a line at the same time. Okay, I've definitely got my work ahead of me for planishing, but we're just going to go on to the next step so you can see it before I get the other eye caught up. Whew, Shatter City. Get out of there. There we go. Okay, so the next thing I would really like to do is put the upper lid so all that work was so I could do that upper lid for you guys. So now we can planish it. And this gives it a real nice overlap, underlap feel for making, it'll make this whole upper brow feel heavier. Let's check our work. What a difference, huh? So I've planished the, just the life into it, really. Every time you think you've gone through and made these two sides deep enough, you end up doing it again. I don't know why that is. It just is. The eyes need to be spherical, not sphere-like. They can't be an oval or a lemon. They must actually get into the sphere spectrum. And on this side, I have yet to do the wrinkles and the upper lid and the lower lid. The attention I've spent in those places really come through, where this eye still feels quite underdeveloped. Still quite a bit to do. There's some subtle planishing across the sides here where the crow's feet wrinkle lines will come down and really start to give this character some life, but I just wanted to kind of, dare to compare, kind of, like, look how different those are, just by adding the lids. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to be able to move on. I'm going to be able to start doing wrinkles and get more, scarred caricature-like attributes into this face, knowing that my eyes are well developed, they're deep enough, they're round enough, they're supported by the understructures that should be there. They are also well framed with eyelids. They're also pretty close to the same size. So here we grab the calipers and I'm kind of stopping in the tear duct. So honestly, I could stand to probably take this one's tear duct in just a little bit more. But we'll definitely get away with it. It's not just It's not just the light, and it's not just the established area around it, but once we get the actual eyelid into this eye here, you know, it should really shape up, because that'll open up that eye quite a lot. All right, well, thank you very much. I hope that answers some questions about how I make eyes. I followed the worksheet pretty closely. It's a little different for slightly larger eyes, but not by much. I would say the only real differences are the nose isn't always this large. I'm making a fictitious character. This is a dwarf. He's got a big nose. Obviously, that breaks a few of the human ratios that we, otherwise guide ourselves by, but faces take every shape and form, so it's not exactly like there's a handbook that you must follow. So I hope that answers some questions, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that was clear. If it wasn't, follow up with some questions, and I'll get back to you.